Hey, Adam.
Yo.
Do you like the album that we will be exploring today?
It's one of my all-time favorites, as it is for many people. Yeah. How about for you?
Yep.
We'll get into that. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music Explored.
Explored, brought to you today by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all of your jazz lesson needs all of your jazz lesson needs. I gotta put it in there a little bit.
Blues season. That's all I'm saying.
It's blues season is coming up on Open Studio Pro. It actually starts.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
It's not a secret, Peter.
It's a little bit of a secret.
It's already begun.
Go to openstudiojazz.com/pro if you want to know. Come on, man. Don't tell them everything.
Well, you know what else is kind of a secret, Peter? Is, so this album that we're doing today, Sonny Rollins, 1957 masterpiece, Saxophone Colossus. I actually can't wait to get to Apex Mountain for this because I feel like there's some real good Apex Mountain things we can talk about.
I can't wait to get to Is It Better Than Kind of Blue?
Yeah, also true.
Then we might have some surprises there, both on your side, my side, and we have a big surprise because producer Caleb, will be chiming in on Is It Better Than KOB today for the first time ever.
Oh, did he get a mic?
I don't know.
No. I can do it real quick. It's okay, Caleb.
Yeah. We'll be relaying his vocals.
So, Peter, I've been trying to do this album for months.
Yeah.
Months and months. It's one of, if you Google greatest jazz albums of all time, it's usually in the top 5.
Not that we would ever do that Google search to prep for one of these shows.
Not that we would ever do that, but it's interesting to know what other people are searching for and what they enjoy. You have always pushed back on this. You're like, nah, it's not my favorite. There's something that happened this week where you're like, oh, you know what?
All right, listen to it again.
I really like Saxophone Colossus. And I was like, I knew you would. It's a great album. And it's just interesting. I'm wondering what your story with this album is, because it's obviously not in your pantheon of the greatest albums of all time.
Well, I think it is now.
Oh.
Yeah, I think what I realized was this was an album that I maybe over-listened to at a certain point a long time ago, but I kind of forgotten about that. And so as I listened to it again, not that I hadn't heard it, of course, it's such a intersection of sort of the zeitgeist of Sonny Rollins, jazz saxophone, this whole 1956 to 1959 kind of transformation. I mean, it's unavoidable in a great way. You know, it's exactly the kind of thing. But I hadn't really sat and done some focused listening in decades, I think, which is crazy. And I forgot how much I like this record. But there's a few things about it that are a little off-putting to me. We'll get into that a little bit. You know, none of them have to do with Sonny Rollins. I can put that out there.
Yeah.
Or any of the musicians on it. But
I get it. I get it.
But I do think it's a great, and the reason I was kind of delaying is I think in the back of my mind, I sort of subconsciously was thinking, I want to listen to this again. I want to dig into it again before we dug into it here. That's really what it was. And that's the reason I put it off. Not that I didn't like it, but I wanted to kind of affirm or check it out. It's an important record. I knew that. And so I wanted to like really have a chance to absorb it, which I have now, reabsorbed.
It's so listenable.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be interesting, the snobometer on this one too, because it is, you know, when I was in sophomore or junior in high school, whenever I bought Kind of Blue, I think I also bought Saxophone Colossus that same trip to Borders in Sunset Hills.
Wow.
Like I bought those two albums together and listened to them in my 1984 Chevy S10 all year. And I know this one like the back of my hand.
Is that the Silverado model or is that pre-Silverado?
No, it was an extended cab red stick shift 4-speed. It was great.
You were driving it.
That was really nice.
Producer
really
Caleb
nice.
just said, woo!
I had a tonneau cover so that I can keep my keyboard back there.
Tonneau cover?
A tonneau cover on the way to the
Is
gigs.
that the color of it or the brand?
No, it was black. It was a style of cover. Yeah. Every single working keyboardist alive in the Midwest had some kind of truck with a tonneau cover at that era that I know of.
See, I grew up in the city.
A Toyota Corolla.
If you had a truck, you were hauling something. You were a tradesman if you had a truck. Because if you put a keyboard in an open bed item in the city, it would be stolen, my friend.
That's what
Shout
the
out
tonneau
City of
cover
St.
is
Louis.
for.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
You could still easily steal all my stuff if you wanted to. That's why I didn't leave it there. But we digress. I'm just saying, big time. I'm just saying, this was in my little Discman that was on the seat that went into the tape player that was put in aftermarket, by the way. Anyway,
What a beautiful thing, though. I think each of us has for these great albums and for these periods. It's that whole experience. It's like you're in the truck. Like as soon as you said Discman, that took me back.
Totally.
And you had some kind of either like an FM modulator. How did you hook it up?
No, that's what I was saying. So
the cassette.
The S10 itself from '84 did not come with a cassette player. So the previous owner that had it had put in a tape cassette player in the truck.
Right.
I had a Sony Discman.
We call that aftermarket.
That had an adapter where you would put a fake tape, a plastic tape that had a wire coming out of it that attached to the Discman.
And it would just kind of like come out, and depending on the type of like cassette, sometimes it would be like pushing the little thing up or whatever, the cable.
100%. It also got stuck in there quite a bit.
Of course.
So if you ever had to take it out, which I never did because I was listening to CDs.
But,
that was Sonny Rollins Saxophone Colossus driving around Jefferson County, Missouri.
Right.
Just KOB, Saxophone Colossus, and Grant Green's greatest hits.
That's so awesome.
Those were the three I was just like going through.
But these intersections, I think, of like when, where, and what we experience this stuff it's priceless.
Oh, dude, there's teenagers like in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska right now, just like rocking out to, Walter Smith III's new stuff.
Right.
I mean, granted, it's all very easy now.
Right. No, but I'm saying, but that's their kind of connection with it. I think if you think about, like, I know the first time that I remember hearing jazz, I'm sure I had before, but like where I really remembered like where I was and what I was old enough barely to be able to kind of understand that. My mom had a Datsun wagon.
Oh, beautiful.
Like a 610 wagon, pre-Nissan. And so this was like right when we were moving to St. Louis. So I was 5 years old. And so 1976. And she had an 8-track.
Yeah.
That was rocking the 8-track. And she had like this I don't know where the 8-track was from, if she got it or if it came with the car or whatever. But one of the tracks on it was Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin. I don't know who was playing it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I remember hearing that and being like, that was my first really like, because I was playing piano already.
Yeah.
But I hadn't like played that. I was like, damn, what is
That's not Chopin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 5. I probably didn't take it to that level. But I do remember.
You were Peter Martin at 5. You probably did.
No. But also, she had that car for years after. So I'm thinking this could have been. But I remember on that trip hearing that. And,
I remember. So our GALA, we were not even into the episode yet, but I just want to put a GALA, a gentleman and ladies agreement here really quickly.
Yeah.
If you want to participate in this, if you go to the YouTube of this episode, I think everybody or many of our listeners will have a story with this album because it is one of those albums.
Yeah.
So put in where the first time that you heard this album or the first copy you had, was it on vinyl? Was it on 8-track? Was it on cassette tape? Was it on CD? Was it streaming?
Mine was on
Did
CD.
you download it illegally from Napster via 2001?
Napster.
You know what I mean?
Napster.
I also love the Datsun reference, Peter. My mom had a 83 VW Rabbit, and I'll never forget that car. Your mom's first car. It's like the first car you remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's great. I still remember hearing.
Shout out to dads in the 70s that obviously didn't do much parenting.
Hey, now moms took us everywhere.
They didn't do a lot of pickups.
Mom took me everywhere, and I'm not throwing her on the bus. This was very common. No seatbelt, just my mom's arm.
My mom's arm.
Like here, she's not wearing a seatbelt. I'm like, Mom, we're both going into the dash if something happens here.
Well, since my mom is an avid, apologies.
Shout out Ralph Nader for getting everybody to wear seatbelts. Yeah.
I would throw my mom literally under the bus, but our moms almost threw us under the bus with their smoking in one side and the other hand. Who had their hands? And it was a stick shift. So
exactly right.
But my mom said, "Oh well." Before I remember when my kids were little, she's like, we're doing all the car seat, and there's the different one that's facing backwards, and you have to have all. She's like, "Oh, you guys are fussing with all this stuff," and when you guys were little, I just used to throw you in the laundry hamper. I was like, what are you talking about? In the car?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, because you'd be sleeping and you were so happy, and I'd have the clean laundry with the towels and you loved the way it smelled. I would just place you in that, and then I would just put you right, on the seat. I was like, in the front seat also? Yeah. She's like, yeah, because then I could watch you, and if anything happened, I could, put my hand there or whatever. So
makes perfect sense. Could you imagine if they tried to pass seatbelt laws now, all the conspiracy theories online that would go on about why they would be doing, you know what I mean? Like with everything anybody tries to do now for safety, or there's all these conspiracy theories.
Which directly connects with Sonny Rollins.
Back to it. This is why he's a pro. So some cultural context. This album came out, again, Saxophone Colossus. Again,
at a time when seatbelts weren't a thing, see?
Put in the comments your connection to Saxophone Colossus. So the cultural
also put in the comments how much your mother loved you when you were in the vehicle as a young person.
Yeah, that's true. Cultural context, number one movie in the United States anyway was The 10 Commandments.
Damn, the OG one?
The OG 10 Commandments.
Not the Mel Brooks
on TV, the month that this album was released, the final episode of I Love Lucy aired. That's how old I Love Lucy is. Yeah, great theme. The number one song in America was All Shook Up by Elvis Presley. The president was Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Wait, who?
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. A little background here.
Big fan of the military-industrial complex.
He the founder. The artist background info. Sonny made 6 albums as a leader in 1956.
Okay, can we just talk about that and just...
That's crazy.
And great ones, including Tender Madness, which maybe even more... Well, we'll get into
Tender Madness might even be more sought after, but I don't know.
He made the one where he's got Clifford Brown and Max Roach on... I mean, it was a lot of like overlap.
Yeah.
He recorded with Clifford Brown,
like
Max Roach,
you and your boys just recorded a bunch of albums together.
But these are like important marker albums. It's not like a bunch of scrub albums and then Saxophone Colossus.
For sure. Yeah, they recorded this in 56.
With Thelonious Monk as well that year.
That's right. Great stuff. Yeah, this was an incredible year. I mean, we're going to do our yearly report here on 1963, which is a big year where Coltrane releases 4 albums as a leader.
Yeah.
And
maybe we should do a tier list, 1963, 1959, 1956.
Yeah.
And then what can we get from the 2000s that could...
Well, are we going to skip over the 70s, 80s, and 90s?
Probably. Well, I mean,
should we pick the greatest? We should do an episode where we pick the greatest year of each decade.
The problem is after 63, 65-ish, the sessions, like there wasn't, we could look at this, like budgets and record companies or whatever. How was he able to do 6 major label releases in 1 year, record?
That's crazy.
Obviously they were doing things fast.
Yeah,
but
they
like
were 1 day in the studio, 2 days in the studio.
Yeah, but we've done that before too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
So, 6 albums as a leader in 56, including Tender Madness, a month earlier. Sonny was part of the Clifford Brown, Max Roach Quintet, and Clifford Brown died in a car accident just 4 days after this recording.
Yeah. Clifford Brown and Richie Powell, great pianist.
Bud Powell's younger brother, Richie.
Yeah. On their way to Chicago in Delaware.
Sonny Rollins was 25 when this was released. Tommy Flanagan was 26. Tommy Flanagan is the pianist on this record.
Yep.
Doug Watkins plays bass. He was 22. And Max Roach on drums was the old man of the group, 32 years old.
It's so interesting to see these names and like how close they are. And there's always one.
Yeah. There's always one older guy.
It's like Ron Carter or Miles was a little bit. Yeah. I think too, like, mentioning Clifford Brown, although he's not on this record, he's such not only the fact of his tragic passing right around this time, but was such an influence and friend and connector
100%
with Sonny Rollins.
And Clifford Brown and I think Clifford and Sonny are the connectors, Clifford, Sonny, and Miles, you could say, are the connectors between the bebop era of the late 40s and early 50s into the early 60s.
And Max Roach, Thelonious Monk.
Yeah. But this era is really interesting.
Yeah.
54 to 59, right?
Yeah.
Or 50, the end of 58. It's a really interesting time for the music.
And right around this 54, 55, 56, we don't talk enough about it because we don't like to go negative. Or not negative, just, I don't know. It's a little bit of a third rail for talking about in jazz, and I don't think it should be because it is what it is. But the heavy heroin use and narcotic use that was dominating, more than I ever realized.
Yeah.
I would hear little things and you'd see stuff. It's been a little bit whitewashed in jazz biographies and books and stuff. And some of the lionization of musicians, it's like, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then there was like pushback on like the Charlie Parker movie. Did it talk about it too much?
Yeah, there's both sides of it. There's also has been a stigmatization of jazz musicians at the same time. But it is a really sad era for that. Where we're losing a lot of great musicians.
Exactly.
Very, very young.
And then the Sonny Rollins, like this was such a triumphant, his battle against and then winning over this in sobriety for... Sonny's still with us. You know what I mean? For 50 years after this. Yeah. More. I'm sorry, 70 years. What am I talking about? Amazing. He's 25 here. He's like 94, 5 now, 96.
Incredible.
So I think that, that so many musicians, Clifford Brown, from what I understand, was very unique in this. This is what I'm saying. We don't talk about this enough. And that he was clean.
Yeah.
Always. And he was young, but he was known as that and was like a little bit of a thing. Like he came on and like messed up not only trumpet players, but all the horn players, everybody, because he was just wiping the floor,
crisp.
technically crisp, musically. I mean, he was a force, and only the fact of his tragic dying in the car accident did that altered things so much. But I know Sonny Rollins has talked about extensively and written about his influence on his sobriety and his clean living and all things spiritual that he was segueing to right around this time.
Yeah.
So very interesting in how, I don't want to speak to how it affected this exact recording because I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I know that the trajectory in this period, he's talked about that.
We know Clifford affected Sonny.
Absolutely.
And Sonny is of course, this is his recording. I think about it every time I hear Clifford Brown play, every time I hear his name, I think, what might have been if he hadn't have tragically left us so soon and lived as long as Sonny lived and give all the music. Think about all the great music we got from Sonny this whole time, And
plus, there was like a real thing. I don't know how prevalent it was, but it was prevalent among musicians, great musicians, and aspiring young. I mean, these are young guys, aspiring players. There was a real you have to be high or you have to be affected in order to hit those top levels, because so many of the great players that were a little bit older than your Charlie Parkers and I don't know who else, but that were really the heroes and just at this mythical level, there was a real thing of there's an artistic connection. There was the whole beatnik generation, all this. I don't want to speak out of turn because, I'm caveating a lot of things, but that stuff was real.
No, Bird's influence on this, the fact that Bird did what he did despite really being in the throes of addiction, makes it seem like that's part of it.
Yeah, and even though he said and would tell younger musicians, it's like this, that he was already, before he got involved with that addiction, had documented a lot of his great works on record.
Of course, of course. This is
it's part of the lore, though.
No, the junk didn't make Bird. Bird was already Bird.
Yeah, but that wasn't a known thing at the time, and we could be like, "Why? That's so stupid." Why? I mean, they were young. You know what I mean? You get caught. I mean, and you talk about the cultural context of how this country was, how African American artists, even in New York City and stuff. Sonny Rollins grew up in New York City. Yeah. Even there, the most progressive place for a minority people. How that affected all these different things, the police presence, all the stuff.
Yeah.
It was a different time. It was a different time, and this was some triumphant stuff that Sonny Rollins, and then led his whole life and how he went on to influence. I mean, is there a more influential? We can talk about Train for sure and Wayne Shorter, but Sonny Rollins is right. I mean, for the musicians I hear now and our generation and a little bit before.
Yeah, of course, his influence is still rippling out 100%, and all of the people who have been influenced by him have then just added some energy to that ripple. But there's a lot we can talk about with Sonny, and I'd love to do at one point Tenor Madness. I'd love to do The Bridge. Yeah. I would love to do all of these other. Way Out West is another one. Great record.
Yeah.
So all coming, but we got to start somewhere.
So
and there's no better way to start than Saxophone Colossus.
Okay.
And there's no better track to start with than the opening track. Fans of Peter Martin will be familiar with this because Peter has a very famous solo on a Joshua Redman version from Live at the Village Vanguard, Spirit of the Moment. But this is the original OG St. Thomas. Sonny Rollins, Tommy Flanagan on piano, Doug Watkins on bass, and Max Roach on the drums. How good do those drums sound? I hate to stop it, but I just got to take a note. Perfect. I know the piano's not going to be good, but the drums sound amazing.
Piano sound, not going to be good.
Yeah, piano sound, not Tommy Flanagan.
Oh. Woo.
What is that? Come on.
Woo. A smooth jazz record in a way. This first track, at least. I'm hitting several third rails today. Drugs, smooth jazz.
Max Roach, man.
unapologetically just thematic, rhythmic, interactive, like jumping right in there, Sonny.
I mean, that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's talking about influences.
Yeah.
When you hear folks like, I mean, nearly everybody, but like specifically people like Joshua Redman, Walter Smith III comes to
James Carter.
James Carter comes to mind. Mark Turner, even?
For sure. Sure. Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
Very influenced by Sonny Rollins.
Hey.
I think. I mean, his command of the instrument. I'm trying to think of like the piano equivalent. It's almost like a Keith Jarrett kind of thing, where pianists get even more excited because like stuff we know he can do. You know, it's like saxophonists get even more excited because like this stuff is like he's making it look easy.
And just the most stylish, coolest musician on the planet at this time.
Yeah.
Or any time, really.
And such a connector with bebop, but also pre-bebop, big tenor, almost like Texas tenor kind of bluesy stuff, you know, walking the bar. It's like he's walking the bar as he's post-bopping.
Yeah, it's true.
And then Max Roach.
Maybe, man, we talked about the Theft Award.
I know.
It might be that.
I thought I had him.
Is that what you got?
I think so. We're not there yet, though. Is there a more, like, just swinging and accurate and technically proficient and just thematically soloing drummer than Max Roach?
It's hard to say.
I mean, you could say Art Blakey during his period, Philly Joe Jones.
Roy Haynes.
Roy Haynes.
Yeah.
But I mean, Max's precision and his technical prowess is... This material is also very well suited for him, for everybody on this record, you know.
And one of the great moments of the record comes out of this solo.
Yes. Instant swing.
Oh, we did this?
Swingometer. Swingometer. And Max Roach takes such a it's such a dominant and distinctive way of swinging, you know. He's busy with the left hand. And Max's ride cymbal, like Doug Watkins is, he's ahead. He's on the front end of the beat. Max is a little bit on the back end, I would say, which gives a nice...
Doug Watkins is an interesting character in this
album. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey.
Sonny's pretty confident with his saxophone playing, I would say, during this period. Like, you can tell he's been practicing. Well, he talked about practicing 12 hours a day. Oh, now I can hear the piano. Amazing. Talk about the snobometer. The piano meter just went up. Oh.
Yeah. Any pianist, I recommend you transcribe this solo.
Yeah.
It's so easy to hear.
And the range is a compact solo. He jumped on some dyads there.
Look at you with the big vocab. Yeah, any Tommy Flanagan solo from this era of the 50s, or any Red Garland solo from this era of the 50s, it's like it distills the earlier bebop down into something a little bit more practical for the modern player to latch onto. Not that there's anything wrong with just transcribing all Bud Powell.
I wonder if this was a one take. I bet this was one take.
I think so.
I would think so. I thought you make 6 records in a year.
Yeah, everything's one take. Yeah.
Man, so much personalization to it.
Oh, it's the every note counts.
Yes.
Philosophy. There's not a single note or phrase that he isn't putting something distinctive in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to that entire performance again, every single phrase, every single note, there's nothing thrown away. There's nothing, I'm just running my fingers over my saxophone. Everything has an emotional punctuation to it. And it is fucking amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's why Sonny is Sonny. It's like that. It's like a great vocalist. A great vocalist gives you some kind of emotional clue with every single phrase, every single note. Same thing.
The intentionality, like that's coming through, is like off the charts on that. That you rarely. And I wonder if that was some of that Clifford Brown. Like that's something I always got from his playing. And look, these things are not. It's not like this is what gets you to become a great player. I would say Miles Davis during this period, or really almost any period. There's some things, but a lot of the stuff that's even thrilling Miles playing. I don't know. I'm comparing Miles to Sonny, but I mean he was a big time player around the time. But like Miles didn't have that level of precision combined with intent. Like he had a lot of authenticity and intentionality in what he's playing.
Lots of intentionality,
but he's not always totally achieving what he's going after, which is not a bad thing, you know.
I got a great video that I want to play of Miles for our next episode. We could talk about this. We're gonna do next episode after this is a little bit of a mixed bag, some speak pipe stuff. We're gonna listen to some music, but I got a very fun clip of Miles Davis doing every note he plays is intentional, but that's neither here nor there.
Can we? That was awesome. Can I read this review?
Please.
We used to do this. We're gonna get back on this. I think this is fun. It's kind of like the lore of a record like this, and like musicians talking about it, and then adding little things, and like there's a legend part of it that sometimes becomes a little bit less than accurate or whatever. So I always think it's interesting to see like how was it received at the time. So Ralph J. Gleason, who was a longtime reviewer for, I think it was San Francisco Chronicle or LA Times, one of those, West Coast guy, but he also did downbeat reviews and stuff. He did a review of this. This is from June 27th, 1957. Do you remember where you were that day? No, me neither. 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's always good to nail that.
Yeah.
Kind of embarrassing if he gave it 2.5 stars some 75 years later.
Possible. Bad take. Could have had a bad take.
Almost as if in answer to the charge that there is a lack of grace and beauty in the work of the New York hard swingers,
it's interesting,
comes this album in which Rollins displays humor, gentleness, a delicate feeling for beauty in line, and a puckish sense of humor. And all done with the uncompromising swing that has characterized them all along. The treatment of Moratat, is that how you say it? Mac the Knife? Moratat. For instance,
I believe so.
Or Blue 7 show Rollins' particularly interesting statements and restatements of ideas. The latter tune is an especially compelling work, from the fascinating bass introduction through the discontinuity of Sonny's first chorus, the piano solo, the duet between Sonny and Max, on through the rest of the piece till the final fade out. It's all modern jazz of the first rank. Rollins playing on the slow ballad, You Don't Know What Love Is, was a moving experience for me to hear. A gentle, easy, careful man, rather like a giant male nurse handling a particularly angry wound.
Aw, that's a great...
Isn't that interesting?
That's a great, very creepy description.
And dated. Flanagan...
A giant male nurse.
Handling a particularly angry wound.
Angry wound.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was coming out of the war in this period.
Yes,
they're dealing with a lot of stuff.
Well, 12 years later.
Yeah, we'll let it go.
Flanagan's solo on this track is a thing of rare beauty. He has an unusually gentle tone on the piano. Shout out RVG.
Unusually gentle. He's playing as hard as he can.
He's banging, actually.
Yeah.
Watkins' bass throughout the track, and the entire LP is continually deft, elemental, and a propelling force.
Deft?
Deft. Like Deft Punk.
Great.
Lest you should think I am overlooking Roach.
Did you say like Deft Punk?
Daft Punk. Hey, cultural...
Wait, so a very big difference between deft and daft.
Yes.
Is it an E or an A?
It's an E.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to make a joke. I thought it was funny. You corrected
Deft
me.
Punk is funny.
Lest you should think I'm overlooking Roach, I would like to say that this record contains, for me, some of the best drum breaks and solos I've ever heard.
True.
Ralph, he didn't really nail it on the angry male
metaphors.
Nurse,
His metaphors are weird, but
this one he kind of I got to go with him on that one. Roach continues to be head and shoulders above every drummer in his musical conception of a drum solo, in his exploration of the potentialities of the instrument, and his unfailing good taste in the use of the sounds and combinations of sounds his explorations produce. That's pretty good.
Was that Ralph Gleason?
Yeah, Ralph J. Gleason.
Ralph J. Gleason.
Yeah. I find this entire album excellent on all counts, and for all persons concerned, the recorded sound is a gas, by the way, but I especially endorse it because of the object lesson in how to play the drums. Interesting. So this might foreshadow a little bit of who stole the record, in our opinion, that we'll be getting to in a minute.
We'll get into a minute.
But that's pretty good. I skipped a little bit.
Let's talk some bangers, Peter. My track banger was St. Thomas, which we've already listened to, but your track banger is also my solo banger. It's Blue 7.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the greatest tracks in the history of the music. This is a masterclass, if you're a musician, of how to spin a melody out of the melody of the song and turn your solo into this just continuation. I would say that Sonny is better at this than almost anybody. Maybe Miles or Monk you can put up there for the similar thing, but this is, I think, the pinnacle of how to do that.
Yeah, and not to take away anything from this, I think, in fact, it would add to it. This was apparently, and again, legend, lore, how do we verify this stuff? But apparently this was just, he made up this tune. This was not a preconceived composition.
Play a B-flat blues.
It was like, let me come up with the head.
Here's Blue 7, Saxophone Colossus.
It's a woody bass sound. Shout out.
Shout out to trees.
Keep on barking.
Oh, God. Stop it.
I love the way Max Roach dances in.
It's playful. The whole album is playful.
Like, what is that? Dang. Jeff Tane Watts, big influence from Max Roach. Ride cymbal stuff.
Like, immediately directly
connect. I never thought about that.
That's a great point. Great take. Hey. Sharp 11 kind of thing. Little flat 5 kind of thing.
Sonny's really good in this tenor range. So good.
It's good. His Sonny stuff is on point. That
nice.
Chord
perfect.
Yeah.
You can't do anything else. I love that. There's no like, it's too early to do double time. Nah. We're going to be playing for 11 minutes. No.
The thing with the double time stuff, though, is there's no hurry to just, like, shove it down our throats.
Right. And the way
he'll do these phrases, and then
it's so seamless.
And then just, like, give it some space and some...
He doesn't play it in a way where he's stuck there. And thematically, it's all connected. If it's double time or straight, or when he's kind of floating in between a little bit.
It's an exercise we do when we do improv games on Open Studio Pro. You have to play a phrase that's very busy and very fast, and you have to alternate that with a phrase that's very spacious, very slow. So that's our banger track for Peter, banger solo.
It's a great solo. That's your banger solo, right?
Yeah, that's my banger solo. I think it's terrific. There's a couple other tracks here that I definitely want to get to, Peter. Your banger solo is Moratat? Moratat.
I call it Mac the Knife because
it is Mac the Knife.
Although I am German and American, so I prefer English.
It's
my first language.
Kurt Weill tune.
Kurt Weill.
What?
I don't know. Kurt Weill.
Aren't you German?
Well,
it's a Kurt Weill tune.
Still working on it.
And they took it. They took it and they made Mac the Knife out of it, which is a violent song.
It's banned.
It's a very violent song.
Not banned here though.
But the original tune is Kurt Weill, and this is actually, so there's 5 tracks on this. There's St. Thomas. There's You Don't Know What Love Is, which I do want to listen to a little bit because the beginning of You Don't Know What Love Is incredible, and it is that beautiful walking ballad feel that I love so much.
Oh, it's
also Strode Road should be a more played standard.
That was almost my banger track.
Strode Road is incredible. Every track, all 5, are incredible.
And they're all different, and it's balanced.
Yeah,
very well balanced.
Let's hear this Moratat.
Yeah, you can jump to the solo. Or no, it was later. Oh. Ooh, hi-hat swing. Hi-hat swing. That would be my bespoke genre for this beginning.
Is there a better hi-hatist than Max Roach?
No.
Probably not, right?
No. Name me one. Name me one better hi-hatist.
There's not.
Name a higher hat than
Max Roach is the peak hi-hatter of all time.
Peak hi-hat.
Apex Mountain for hi-hat.
Really?
Yeah. Mr. Hi-Hat.
Did he wear a top hat during that performance? We don't know. We can neither confirm nor deny that. Oh, transition from 2 to 4, perfectly executed. I give it an A.
And the sound of this album, too. I know the piano sounds particularly wimpy.
Egregious.
And you don't like it, which we'll get to. But overall...
I was out on high. Why you pulling me down?
There's a reason why.
Why kill my buzz, bro? Oh. Okay, can you pause for just a second? I want to go back and hit. So Max does this a bunch of times. It's part of his style.
Oh, Max.
But he does this on a
basis. Great.
Yeah. Mr. Roach. Gang. Like, that's a common fill that people stolen from him, and I'm sure Max wasn't the first to do it. But his placement of this on this track several times is so, like, appropriate and just brilliant and, like, pushing things ahead, but complimentary. I don't know. I can't come up with the words.
Back it up a little bit.
It's just, please back that thing up. No, not that much. Okay, no. That transition, though.
Good transition.
Sonny, killing. Woo! Woo! That cat. Cat. Oh! He dropped the bomb!
I know.
He dropped the bomb!
Also,
he dropped the bomb on me.
Oh, shout out to Tommy Flanagan.
Yeah.
Even though you could barely hear him.
I know.
He's really providing a lot of beautiful
I have to shout out to him because he's so far away.
You gotta shout at him. Because he's
shout out, where are you?
He's in a different building.
Join the party.
Hey.
That's more what you were talking about with the double time seamless.
But it's not
triplets too.
So I'm speaking for myself. Whenever I go into double time like that, it's like, oh, now I'm in double time, and I hang on to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More like that's my instinct. I have to practice kind of against that to do more of this, which is like you can play a double time phrase. It doesn't mean the energy also automatically has to shoot up to this. Like now we're in the stratosphere. It's like listen to what's happening here.
Right.
You know, taking it back. Beautiful, beautiful lesson.
It's like it's regulated so well.
Yeah, I mean,
he regulates it so well within the form of the solo.
Yeah.
But he's the.
It's why he's one of the all-time great artists.
Yeah.
He uses these melodic lines.
Oh.
Like a painter would use brushstrokes.
Yeah.
Right? There's the busyness or a composition of any kind of visual art, right? There's like the busy sections, there's the negative space. Sonny has that.
Yeah. It's so great at connecting things on a macro level, like chorus by chorus, like the entire solo.
Yeah. And then from a technical, I don't play the saxophone anymore. I used to when I was a kid.
Sorry, okay, so that, like playing at that alternate time there.
Yeah.
This is the reason, as I was listening to all these tracks, I was trying to figure out like the banger track. That's the reason I picked this track.
Let's hear that again.
He's just like right in that eighth note swing. Oh, that 3 different registers.
Almost triplets. Almost triplets.
He's playing it another time, but he's like, and then Max with all that just. Man. There's such a freedom within this very like simple kind of constricted harmonic form of a tune, you know. And he's doing all this like real traditional tenor stuff somehow at the same time.
Yeah.
This is like a beauty and confidence and humility kind of all wrapped up together. Okay,
so good, man. Great solo.
Very good. So I want to make note of one thing that I think another thing that we maybe don't acknowledge enough, and that is Sonny's solo on that and his playing on this record in general and during this period, I think is so great in somewhat equal parts to a master musician, a master artist, but also a master technician.
Yeah.
And by technician, I mean somebody who's just practicing like crazy.
That's what I was about to say.
And has mastered his instrument, but not like been like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm really good. I can play whatever I want, but like almost a maniacal kind of approach. Like you can hear that. Of course, there's lore about that too that I know. But you can really hear that. Like it just sounds like somebody that can play anything that they hear.
100%.
You know?
100%. And the sound, his sound, I know that is technically kind of that's what saxophone players geek out about. Of course, the chops and the speed and the clarity and all that.
The sound.
But this sound is so huge and so beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that takes a lot of work.
It takes a lot of work. And the control and like the intonation, the vibrato and the control of the vibrato. I mean, it's very much like a, you know, like even if you're not into basketball, if you watch Steph Curry shoot, you're like, wow, okay, that guy's practiced that before. And practice it again, and practice it again. And like somebody, it's fun when another human dedicates themselves like a crazed animal going after a bone for hour after hour to get so good at something.
Just so motivated.
And then to be able to watch it. You know?
When we get to the bridge, not the part of the tune, but when we get to the album, the bridge, eventually we'll talk all about that. I want to, before we get to the categories.
Aren't you glad we finally did this record, Adam?
I don't know why.
Let's move on.
I don't know why.
Well, let's talk about why we didn't.
Yeah,
this would be a good time. Okay, we're talking about. Oh no, should we wait until we get to underrated?
Yeah, let's get underrated. One more thing about Moortat. So this one was tough for me. Like I said, I got this album when I was 16.
Yeah.
Just before that, there was a huge McDonald's advertising campaign where they used Mac the Knife with this lounge singer at a piano with a moon for a head. Do you remember what? Do you remember this?
I think this is. I don't remember it, but it's bringing up memories somehow.
It's a good time for that great taste at McDonald's.
So there's a little bit too much overlap for
When I first heard that, I just couldn't get the McDonald's song out of my head because I was a teenager and I would just, the campaign was huge and it was like very catchy, obviously. I didn't even know Mac the Knife.
Right.
Like my dad would be like, oh yeah, it's Mac the Knife. And I'd be like, what's that? You know, I just knew
it as
like
a serial killer.
I just knew it as the moon guy from McDonald's. And then I heard it on this jazz album and I'm like,
that's weird.
I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Cultural context.
Cultural context. Exactly. It's why it's like when we all listen to these at different times, it causes different experiences.
Could you pull that up? That would be fun to see.
I'm trying to find it now. Yeah. So McDonald's.
Well, as you're doing that advanced Google search.
Man commercial.
Mac the Knife, French fries.
Mac Tonight. Caleb, can you share my screen?
Yeah, you got it. It's up there.
It's up there.
Oh, that's creepy.
This is what I'm saying.
The stars come out to play, babe. A twinkling
Took it up
show. Ooh, dinner out of sight.
Oh, that's
yeah, the night time.
Ooh, skip the little part.
Golden light time. at McDonald's. Showtime. It's Mac tonight.
I just couldn't get that commercial out of my head.
Is that Michael Bublé?
It sounds a little
with the moon
Bublé-ish, but
That's
yeah,
weird.
that was weird.
Yeah. Thank you for pulling that up, though.
You're very welcome.
Is that the jazziest McDonald's commercial ever?
We should do jazziest commercials because there's whole Ella commercials.
Oh, that's true.
We should do jazz
Ron
and
Carter
pop culture.
commercials?
It's been a while since we've done a jazz and pop culture.
That's right. Okay.
Okay. So I just wanted to flag that for because I still think about it. I still have to fight against at McDonald's every time I hear it.
It's Mac tonight.
It's so funny what we hear when we're little kids.
I would have loved to be in the marketing meeting.
I was 10 when that commercial came out.
Connection.
What's that?
I would love to be in with the composer and the marketing folks when they're like, okay, we need something kind of Michael Bublé-ish. I know he hasn't been born yet, but we want it to be a standard that rhymes with Mac tonight, Mac the knife.
And can the aesthetic be like Lounge Singer meets Labyrinth? Like it'd be like the creepiest thing you've seen.
With a little bit of hints of Avatar.
That's so creepy. But it's funny, like the first time I hear that tune is in a commercial.
So what year would
and it just never leaves you.
That you encountered this commercial and this album?
Commercial, it just said there was 88, and the album was probably 93 or 4 is when I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. The first time I ever heard Mac.
It was already, yeah.
It just shows you. I just want to, cultural context, the first time I ever heard You Don't Know What Love Is was this. How great is that?
What an influential way to start a ballad for a saxophone.
And again, this is a theme here, but these walking ballads, Peter, these ballads in 4,
yeah,
that are like, they aren't at 60, they're more like at 80, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're more eighth note than eighth note triplet.
Yeah, it's great. And then shout out to You Don't Know What Love Is. Also shout out to Strode Road.
This was kind of a standard for a while. It's fallen off. It should be, right? As much as Origin or
it's a great tune.
We'll do a JPM on this.
You're gonna do a JPM on Strode Road? Could you do a JPM on the McDonald's Mac the Knife? It's a great bridge. 4 bars on a
Form
bridge.
is so cool.
Yeah.
Max Roach nailed his delivery of this too.
Solo here too. Yeah.
James Carter called, and he's heard this.
Yeah. So that's all the tracks. That's all 5.
Yeah, I wrestled with that being also.
They're all bangers, man.
Yeah.
Every single one. All 5 is an incredible.
Especially for Sonny.
Oh my god.
For his soloing and they're all unique, and obviously Sonny is the connector, but Max too. Well, we're gonna get into that. Should we get into some over?
Let's do some categories. Yeah, some over underdog, underrated Doug Watkins, or market corrected Doug Watkins.
Market corrected by who?
Maybe a couple. Maybe
PC?
Wilbur Ware. Maybe
Paul
PC.
Chambers. I mean, Doug Watkins was great on this record and on other ones. And before this, he was a little older, right? Than PC and Wilbur Ware.
Oh, then those guys probably.
Yeah,
probably.
Maybe not rated enough. That's the problem with like bass players. If you're not Ron Carter or PC, it's you're kind of underrated.
Yeah.
Period. In a way. Let's get into overrated though.
Overrated. RVG piano sound. Now it can't be overrated.
If it's rated at all, it's overrated in my book.
You hate it.
I don't hate it.
It is known to the listeners
me.
of this podcast that every time there's an RVG piano sound.
This record is a great example because the sound is of Sonny Rollins, of everybody except the piano, is so great.
Why do you think it's so great?
Rudy Van Gelder, for sure.
But why?
The players.
But in the mix, why does everybody sound so good? Have you ever put these two things together?
No, I don't believe that because, first of all, this is an especially egregious Rudy Van Gelder piano sound in terms, for me, this is one of the lesser ones. And look, I'm not a hater, okay? Rudy Van Gelder is a legend for a reason that I understand and appreciate deeply, right? But it's one of those things when when you make some things so great, you raise the bar so high that if anything's a little bit under, it's like, whoa. It's like the McDonald's commercial, so great, but the moonhead, a little bit off, right?
It's a issue with a piano in a mix, though. Piano is the hardest. Piano and acoustic bass are the hardest two things to mix.
Right. And so you just shove it in the background.
Well, no, but no, we don't. But I understand why Van Gelder is. because it's going to fight with the drums. It's certainly going to fight with the kick drum and the snare drum.
And this was mono.
It was mono.
There was not a stereo version of this, I don't believe.
It's going to fight with the ride cymbal.
Yeah.
It's going to fight with the tenor saxophone.
Yeah.
It's all of it is in the and it takes up such a huge overtone spectrum because the pianist is also playing 6-7 notes at a time.
Yeah.
That it's like it's a bear to try to mix in there. So I get what his philosophy is. I agree with you though that as a pianist, it sucks. Like I can't hear anything that he's playing.
You know what it is? I think that and maybe that's like the thing of like he was so obsessed with getting this incredible drum sound, which he does. I mean, like this is an A+ drum sound of Max Roach. I don't think it could be any better. Of Sonny Rollins, I don't think he's been recorded as well as this, but never better.
Yeah.
The bass, I would say, is kind of A-. And in general, that's what I'm like a little bit, even like his PC bass, the playing is incredible and the intonation and the woodiness, it's fine. But I mean, but the piano to me, it's just, there's a compromise. So I don't know. I'm not an engineer. Maybe that is the only way to get those other things so great. I think with stereo, he certainly improved. It took a while, but with the placement, like where you're going to pan things and put the piano, but he didn't have the piano wide. It was wherever it was placed, it was like narrow. Yeah. Whereas the drums would be like crazy wide, especially when it went to stereo.
Oh, and I think there is some limitations with the technology they had, certainly. With the mixing technology they had, with the microphone technology that they had.
But there are some limitations. It was fine.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying with like finding notches in the mix.
Yeah.
On a mono recording in 1956.
Yeah.
Is tough. That's tough. That's a tough beat. Man. That's
for whatever reason, it was just harder. And I think the mic placement, he might not have been spot on with that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's
over. I feel weird saying it's overrated because this is something that we in jazz, we don't like. It's sacrilege. It's the third rail. You can't question Rudy Van Gelder's sound. That's the greatest studio ever. It's the greatest sound ever. Well, for me, not the piano this, because I can't hear Tommy Flanagan is playing. And then they're turning it up when he goes to solo, but it's like a thin kind of like, that's not the way I heard Tommy Flanagan. I knew Tommy Flanagan. I was friends with, but I mean, like, that's not the way he sounded. Dan Quayle. Lloyd Benston.
Lloyd Benston. What?
Lloyd Benson? Benson from the TV show Benson.
What?
No, Lloyd Benston.
I knew JFK.
Right. I knew JFK. I worked with JFK. You are no joke.
No
you, sir.
That's right. Yeah.
Lloyd Benston. You don't remember him?
Are you making that name up?
Sir, Lloyd Benston. I knew Lloyd Benston. Oh. Bentsen.
Thank you.
He was the Secretary of Treasury, ran for vice president with, I believe, Michael Dukakis.
Yeah.
Somebody like that?
What a ticket.
Dukakis Benston.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, Tommy Flanagan, I loved hearing him on other recordings where you could really get the full breadth and depth. And thinking about that, it's trio stuff with vocals. So yeah, no, I get it. And I don't want to overstate this, but that's my only like knock on this record.
Kind of Blue, 2 years later.
Yeah.
Piano sounds great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Full, you can hear it.
Yeah.
Balanced with the rhythm section.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
It is possible.
Yeah. Apex Mountains.
Apex Mountains.
Was this Sonny Rollins' Apex Mountain?
I mean,
this year, you'd have to say he's got as much juice as anybody.
Right. But so I heard Sonny Rollins live a couple of times. I heard him solo one time. I think it was at I want to say at Lincoln Center, maybe outdoors, or I have to remember. No, it wasn't outdoors. I heard him outdoors one time too. But I heard him play solo one time. And I mean, it was one of the most stunning things. So it's hard for me to say like this was, because I always feel like weird when you're 25 years old or 26, that was his Apex Mountain.
Do you know what Apex Mountain means?
Yeah, you're the very top.
That's your top of your career. So you have the most career juice. You have the most power in your career.
No, I thought we were saying Apex Mountain is like the greatest moment musically.
Nope.
That's not what Apex Mountain. You earn the most money?
No, that you have the most like
power.
This is we of course
take him out. Get rid of Rudy Van Gelder. I'm so powerful.
We stole Apex Mountain from the Rewatchables, which is maybe the greatest podcast ever.
Apex Mountain for Rewatchables?
Apex Mountain for culture podcast, possibly. But they are very confused about what Apex Mountain means too. So usually it's supposed to mean your career juice. Like how hot are you in the zeitgeist, right? So,
I definitely don't think it's okay. We've been misusing it. Why are you telling me this now?
Well, this has been from the beginning.
No,
Peter.
I thought it was like their greatest moment recorded, or their Like
That's usually what it turns into.
Because when would Miles Davis's Apex Mountain be then? What is that?
Kind of Blue.
Okay, but that wasn't his. Probably like when he was on Saturday Night Live or something.
No,
would be
Kind of Blue has to be his Apex Mountain.
Yeah, but that's because of the lore and like
and the record sales and he could do anything he wanted.
So Apex Mountain is number of record sales.
No, but it's how relevant are you in the cultural zeitgeist at the moment.
At the moment that then.
How big of a star are you? How big are you? How big is your britches?
Sonny Rollins, this definitely 59 was not when he was the biggest star.
57.
57.
I think you can argue it could be Tenor Madness and
yeah, but that was all built up over years of lore, like how great they were.
Right. What's Sonny Rollins' greatest album? Is it
Tenor
this?
Madness. Sonny, I don't know.
Probably something from 1957.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Maybe.
But Peter,
I'm just confused.
It's when Peter heard a solo performance at a park.
That can't be the Apex Mountain. No, it wasn't like I'm walking by and he's there by himself. It was a thing.
Is it Tommy Flanagan's Apex Mountain?
No.
What is?
When I saw him in 1991 playing trio in Taormino, Italy at the festival, it was amazing.
It was amazing. That was his Apex Mountain.
Okay, I'm going to rethink my Apex Mountain. I'm sorry.
Might be.
Now I got it. I'm going to be prepared.
Is it Max Roach's Apex Mountain? Probably not. I would say Max Roach's Apex Mountain is probably with Clifford Brown.
Right, because he was the leader.
Just culturally relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he made is undeniably immortal. When you think about this. Apex Mountain is...
Oh, what was the record with...
What's the first line that they're going to say in your obituary?
Right.
You know?
Right.
For Sonny Rollins, it's probably going to be Saxophone Colossus.
What about Freedom Now? That might be for Max Roach.
Could be for Max Roach. Yeah. That could be, yeah.
Okay.
For Tommy Flanagan, it could be Giant Steps.
In terms of, Okay. First calls. Oh, no, let's do some awards. Oh, wait, I got one more Apex Mountain.
Yeah.
For the Apex Mountain for the hi-hat. What Max Roach did on that intro when on the two-feel hi-hat.
It could be Apex Mountain for the hi-hat.
Yeah.
Apex Mountain for St. Thomas, the island.
Yes. Well, of course. Oh, for the island? No, that was when I went there on my honeymoon in 1998.
Apex Mountain for Mac the Knife.
No, definitely the McDonald's commercial.
Definitely
that was bigger. Commercial. That was bigger.
Apex Mountain for made up tunes on the spot on the session.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Definitely Apex Mountain for just random blues at the end, unlike that other album that we reviewed a couple months ago.
Yeah. This is better than that.
Yeah.
That's the better
track. You said it.
It is a better final track. It really is.
It's a great record. It's a great record. Apex Mountain for jazz records?
It's up there.
Okay.
But probably not.
Okay.
But it's up there.
But you're for sure like this is Apex Mountain for Sonny Rollins.
I think
it was all downhill for him after this.
No. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds very negative. I think when people think about in history, 100 years from now, when people talk about Sonny Rollins, this will be the first album they talk about.
Okay.
So I think in that sense it is.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah. I'd agree. Let's talk about some awards. Okay. We have first and perhaps most intriguing and important, the John Coltrane Theft Award. And just to clarify what this is, we're kind of saying that obviously in this case, this is Sonny Rollins' record.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be Sonny Rollins. He's not going to steal it from himself. But does somebody steal the record from him?
I mean, you can make a
like
case.
Low key.
Max Roach does. That would be the closest thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy Flanagan maybe, but we couldn't hear him. So
does RVG steal it from Tommy Flanagan?
he steals his artistic soul a little bit. Right. Yeah.
The Oscar Peterson Overplaying Award.
Also Max Roach. Yeah. I mean, he's actually, he may be the closest to like corollary with Oscar Peterson when we talk about just soloing on top of someone, but somehow pulling it off. Max Roach kind of does that, although that's more of a drummer thing too. Yeah. But like in terms of a snare drum, when you got huge ears, like it's kind of like the more you can play.
The Keith Jarrett Vocalization Award. Not really hearing anybody speaking.
Yeah.
First call subs.
Yep.
What do you got?
So piano, I've got Red Garland.
That's a great call.
But I'm really not sure because I couldn't hear clearly. But I mean, yeah, Red Garland, maybe Wynton Kelly.
I think Wynton Kelly would be good. I mean, Richie Powell would have been awesome,
right? Well. Even Bud Powell. I mean,
that would have been.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. It could be anybody. Can't hear him.
Yeah, Sonny Clark would have been interesting.
Ooh,
Sonny Clark. Would have been interesting.
Sonny Clark. That might be the one.
That would have been a good one.
Now tenor. This is the hardest one always for like the band leader because it's not going to be. But think about this. Give me somebody that you think could fit in with the title We're doing a record session, Sonny Rollins, Saxophone Colossus, but Sonny can't make it. Who could step into those very big shoes?
Dexter.
Ooh, I like it.
Sonny Stitt.
Sonny Stitt. I like both those.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Coltrane, maybe 1956.
Yeah. That'd be a weird sub, though.
It'd be a weird sub, but he'd fit right in with this material.
He would. Especially at this time.
And it'd be a Colossus kind of situation. But
Also,
I like all those.
Yeah. Blue covers.
It'd be a little bit more of a wild card than a Sonny
which we'll
Stitt.
get into. Yeah, it'd be a wild card. You also have here in the notes, you have Joshua Redmond / James Carter.
Well, yeah, if we're transporting, like, because they could just play everything, either one of them, literally the Sonny played.
Yeah, that's true.
Like before he even knew it.
Bass would be interesting to hear Wilbur Ware, who would go on to play with Sonny with like all the live at the Vanguard stuff, which is such great. They had such great chemistry.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And then drums Philly Joe.
McBride. Christian McBride from the future.
Yeah. Well, naturally, Peter, Christian McBride, Ron Carter, always.
That's right.
And Hutch, always. And probably Brian Blade, always.
So we got to start throwing in some other bass players, too, that could be maybe on the Ron Carter level. Or, well, I mean, Christian McBride, John. Well, I think we did John Patitucci.
I mean, But for this, imagine Blue 7 starting off with Ray Brown.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine Blue 7 with Ray Brown for a second.
I would like that. It would be different.
It would be different.
It would be different.
It would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Drums. Hutch. He could do it. He could totally do it.
Philly Joe could do it also.
Yeah. Max Roach. Ulysses Owens.
Art Taylor?
He's got some Art Taylor. I like AT.
Good. That would be he would fit in with this.
Yeah.
This band.
Roy Haynes.
Yeah.
Roy Haynes.
Yep. Bespoke genre. I have two, so I'm going to go first, then you go.
Okay.
You have one. Blues Hues. Now, this is about the cover.
Yeah. Can we see the cover?
A series.
The real cover.
A series of albums.
Yeah.
From Blue Train, Saxophone Colossus.
No, the real one.
Real cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of blue in a sense. Of just a hued blue cover. It is a whole genre. It's a subgenre of jazz, the blue hue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the blues being kind of the undertone, right?
Blues hues, and also a nod to blues clues. Blues hues.
That wasn't existing yet.
All right. What's your bespoke genre?
I don't know why I did this. Saxy tour de force. Because, I like to get...
Okay.
Yeah.
Saxy tour de force.
Because it's a little bit smooth.
Are you saying
jazzy.
saxy is like a pun on sexy?
Yes. But it's sax. It's a sexy record, though.
I've never connected those two things. Saxy and sexy are so close.
One letter off. But then I was thinking the title of the record, if we can see, we're going deep into the annals of Google image search, I'm sure, as we speak. No, we're there. But I think Saxophone, first of all, great album. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
I mean, that's an all-timer.
But I think for the genre,
Blues hues.
can Saxophone Colossus be the genre?
Be the genre. Yeah.
That's a great title.
Every Sonny record, every Coltrane record, every Dexter
Saxophone
record
Colossus.
is the Saxophone Colossus.
Yeah.
It's a great title.
Like Blue Train, but like their top albums, they could all be considered Saxophone Colossuses.
My second bespoke
Colossi.
genre is the indoor sunglass bop. Indoor sunglass bop.
Right, I got you.
Next up is accoutrements, and it is, if you can keep the cover up there, great timing. It's
all about timing. The top.
I mean, that's a top 3 for me.
It's incredible.
It's one of the most amazing album covers ever. It's gorgeous. He's the coolest thing that's ever been recorded. It says the perspective of it coming from he looks huge,
I know.
and he's towering over all of us.
I do not believe he's a huge man, though.
There is a saxophone there. Isn't he a tall guy? I thought he was a tall guy. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's an incredible, striking cover, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Give it up for Prestige for the covers, by the way.
Right.
In high fidelity, no less.
Right. Wait, can we see it one more time? Sorry. There you go. Things I want to look at the way that the saxophone is. What do you call this? They sent it through some kind of Instagram filter back in 1957. Didn't they?
They did. That was
The Blues Clues.
An OG IG filter.
But so you've got several different hues there, but the way that the saxophone keys are with that light blue, I think is very interesting and artistic. I love what is that font for Prestige and Hi-Fi?
It's gorgeous. I love the Colossus is
Did
white.
you say all this already while I was doing my Google search?
No.
Okay, good.
The Colossus is in white. Everything else is in blue, including
And quite a few
names.
different fonts, which typically doesn't work, but this works.
It looks like there's 2 fonts for the title. Well, there's one font for the title, and then the players' names are in a different font. That's not egregious.
It's truly fantastic.
It is fantastic. And then Prestige Hi-Fi has its own silly hi-fi font. But man, that's just great. I mean, instantly recognizable, sets the mood of the album. Everything you would want
to be at like the 3 Martini meetings of the ad agency that came up with that, the design firm. You know,
they had all these goofy covers. Can you put the European one back up for a second?
Yeah. So this we found out. Remember, we had sort of talked about before. This is the Esquire, and I'm sure we have some LP enthusiasts and jazz historians that will know this much better than us. I'd love to hear about this. This is not a bad cover.
That's a bad cover.
Only compared to what we just saw. It's not a bad. If you didn't know,
this is the cover.
Is the UK release.
This is the cover that the art director brought to the meeting of the 3 Martini, and then Don Draper was like.
It turned it into the other thing.
It's not about that. It's about.
We're always talking about Don Draper. Don Draper was a wordsmith. He wasn't a designer.
Don Draper was a visionary, and I won't hear any less. Don Draper was like, it's about a Colossus.
Right.
And then put that one, and the whole room was like,
it's why he's the best. Colossus.
That's why Draper's the best.
And they're like, what if we put a saxophone in a boot? Saxophone galoshes. I don't know.
Saxophone galoshes.
You know how those meetings go? You know how those meetings go. You like that, huh? Saxophone galoshes. And then it was like, let's put a Hungarian vibe on it. Saxophone goulash. You know, like dripping into the boot, the soup with the saxophone.
Put a prison vibe on it. Saxophone goulash? No.
Not good. But the Esquire version. So what I found out was, with my Google searching, that, remember we always thought these were bootlegs from later? That was actually the release in the UK and perhaps the European, well, it wouldn't have been the European Union, it just would have been Europe at that time. But they would have separate, like some kind of licensing thing, or like Esquire was releasing the version in Europe, you know. And apparently that's like a hot item, a rarity to get.
Why wouldn't
album.
They want to use the cover?
I don't know. I don't know if it was like a differentiation or what. Producer Caleb might know. But he's not telling us.
I mean, you know, Europeans.
He's holding it close to the goulashes.
Famously have great taste in art. You would think that.
I know.
Yeah.
So accoutrements, we're giving it an A, right?
Oh, A++. Yeah, for sure. One of the greatest. Hot takes / rants. We need some justice for Tommy Flanagan. Can't hear the piano. It's a weak sound. It sucks. Also, justice for Tommy Flanagan.
You spelled Tommy Flanagan on this one. You really went with the Irish spelling. FLA.
Tommy Flanagan. Sorry, that was horrible. But yeah, that's how I spelled it.
That's actually a harder.
I spelled it in a cartoonish way. Justice for Tommy Flanagan, not just for his RVG sound here, but also because, you know, famously in the next year or 2 years later, he's on Giant Steps.
Yeah.
And famously doesn't have a great time.
Yeah.
On the title track, but his playing his ass off here. We didn't really listen to too many of his solos, any on this episode, which is shame on us. Yeah. But he is crushing this album.
It's not called Piano Colossus. It's called Saxophone Colossus.
Yeah, but Tommy Flanagan rules this record.
He does. There's some great playing. Shout out TF.
Yep.
Snobometer. I already did my rant, so I'm not going to do that again about the piano sound. So.
Yeah.
Snobometer, formerly Snobometer, now we're calling it the Snobometer.
This is weak on the snobometer. Huh? For me, this is a weak snobometer. This barely registers on the snobometer. Saying? It's a weak snobometer. It doesn't get
No, say the words
snobometer.
That's okay, it's better.
It's a weak snobometer. What was I saying?
I don't know.
Schnobometer?
What is that? Just give us a refresher on
Peter's like, what? Tell me. I already know. This is Peter. I already know what it means, but you tell me what it means.
Well, no, refresh me. I'm serious. I always forget.
So if it's got high marks on the snobometer, that means snobs really love it.
Yes,
which they do, and it also means that normies, people who aren't into jazz, don't like it. But I think
can't use that word anymore.
I think this is very low on the snobometer because I think Aunt Linda loves this one. This is if you were to show someone their first jazz album. I gotta meet Aunt Linda.
Like she's all over the way you represent her. She's all over the place. Kenny G, but then she loves Snobometer. Well, I think Saxophone Colossus.
I think you play St. Thomas for anybody.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know much about jazz. It's one of the first things you would play for someone.
That's why I was like, is that a smooth jazz?
Yeah, you even mentioned it. I think it's very, very palatable for even people who aren't connoisseurs of the music.
Okay. So I was gonna do 5. So you're going 3?
I'm going 3.
I was gonna go 5. That's what I have. I'm changing it to 4 because you have a strong argument there. But also, I was saying 5 because it seems to sit right in the middle of like the ultimate jazz snob would say nothing negative about this record.
True.
Except for maybe the piano sound or whatever if I'm a snob. But I mean, like in terms of like they wouldn't be like, oh, that's not even Sonny's best playing or anything, you know. I don't think they would say that.
Well, actually, the bridge is much more. Yeah.
Although some might be like, that's not
actually
even his best record of 1956, Tenor Madness.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
But no, I think it sits right in the middle of that.
When he was with J.J. Johnson, he was, yeah.
And having mass appeal. But it's also like only got 5 tunes on it and they're long. So that always makes me think like it's got to be more snobby.
The last 2 tracks are double digit times, over 10 minutes, which is long. So
that would push
that would push it. You know what?
I'm going back to 5.
I'm going up to 4.
Okay.
Because of that. That's a great take, Peter. Great take.
Reminder, the snobometer is not an exact science. It's not even a real thing.
We just worked it out.
Okay,
we had evidence. We presented cases. I feel like it's as good as it's going to get.
But this next category is an exact science.
Is it better than
binary?
Is it better than KOB?
Well, I thought it was binary. Now I see what you put.
It's trinary.
It's dianary. I'm dying to hear what you're. Oh, he's about to change it. Look at him.
I'm going to change it actually after listening to it.
Okay.
At least 4.
Better than KOB, Adam.
No.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
But very close.
It's
as close as anything we've listened to.
It's very, very good.
Yeah, I would have no arguments if somebody said even like you did.
If KOB is a 9, it's an 8.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Good. Well, this was fun, man.
It was fun, man. Thank you for doing this. I know this isn't your favorite album.
Thank you for pushing
of all
on
time,
and getting on the schedule.
But it's
terrific. Look, shout out like the way we're doing this now. We're scheduling a little bit further in advance.
Yeah,
like
put
this
in the
episode,
comments.
which has been fun for us to be able to listen to stuff and really do some deep listening. And I recommended like this has been a great thing for me. It's like get some great records that maybe you want to familiarize yourself with or refamiliarize. Talking to you, dear listener. I'm looking at the camera here. Bespoke camera. No, but it's like, you know, put it on your schedule. Like we put crappy stuff in life that we don't want to do, like going to the dentist. It's necessary. But isn't it fun to put on maybe for next week? Saxophone Colossus, deep listening for
it'd be great.
an hour.
It'd be amazing.
You know what I mean?
We do have some suggestions for some albums we could do. And we got a good one from a speak pipe from a guitarist. We have a lot of guitarists that listen. I don't know if you know that.
Why are you turning up your nose?
Well, but
I love you guitarists.
Our
Shout
guitar
out.
friends are a little worried that we don't give the guitar enough love. In fact, we've only done one album, Interplay, that had any guitar on it at all. And someone suggested we listen to Wes
Tune
Montgomery's.
into the next episode where Adam will be just demonstrating giving love to a guitar.
Ugh, gross. Someone recommended that we listen to Wes Montgomery Smoking at the Half Note, which I know you like.
Oh, I love that record.
I think we should listen to Wes Montgomery Smoking at the Half Note. Yeah, it's an all-time great record.
Put it on the list.
Yeah, on the
Okay.
list. Cool. Thank you.
Until next time.
You'll hear it.